Hey there, Preacher fans. We are talking about the 5th episode of Season 3 of Preacher, The Coffin. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, Preacher fans. Welcome. We're all excited today. Welcome to the Preacher After Show. We are talking about Preacher Season 3, Episode 5, The Coffin. I am your host, Alana Jordan, and I'm super excited because for the first time we have our full panel.
Wow.
Full panel.
Thank God.
Who are the full panel?
Nate Miller.
That's
Chauncey Robinson.
and Chauncey.
And I'm Dave, everybody. Hi.
Dave Child.
That's me.
So this was a pretty awesome episode. I
Yeah.
was really, really into this one. Overall thoughts, what did you guys think?
I just think the show keeps getting better, and it's really nice to see it get better, and like the pacing is really good. A lot of stuff in season 2, it had these kind of side stories that were kind of slowing down the whole thing, like the mafia husband and all of that. So it's nice that this is like really strong, forward-moving momentum story that just keeps happening every single episode, and it's great.
Yeah, everything's just weaving together so well. Like all the characters are like shining, like which is very different from like my feelings from last season. So I'm really enjoying this season so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We're getting a lot of setup, payoff, and it just feels good, and everything's been looking really great too, which is nice. I think the cinematography has been great, and it's also, I think they're really kind of settling into their own style. I think especially we saw with this episode too, with kind of the way that different scenes were, visualized.
Yeah.
I agree, and they're definitely able to use the cinematography and all the different elements to kind of contribute not only to the storyline but to make sure that jokes hit too.
Right.
Which we saw a lot this episode that I liked.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but kicking it off, leaving us right from last episode where Cass uses poor Hal's face, the skin suit.
Yep.
Skin
It's
suit has
worked.
now been discovered. And Tulip, I loved this cold open of just, are you ready for a fist fight? And then...
Yeah, I felt like... So when TC falls behind them, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But then nothing really... It didn't really pay off. It was kind of like a cool idea that then went right into a normal fist fight. And then like nothing really...
It caught him off guard.
It was for the
Yeah,
visual,
they kind of surprised them and then they punched him. But it just was a weird visual to choose. Because he's just like, why don't we go and get started? And I feel like you should have
Pretty
just...
good TC.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
good
I've been
impression.
working on that. I'm really good at being DC.
I know Dave's method, so
Yeah, it's real
That's
method.
not comforting.
More comic book
Stay
DC.
away from the bathrooms.
Lots of animals.
Found object bathroom
oh,
weaponry.
Yeah. Oh, geez, that was great.
I loved that.
That was
and
great
because
timing.
that was
Great,
the still frame for next week on last week's, I was wondering, what is this
was
going to
it?
be? Was
right.
this... Yeah,
Him
that...
with the flaming thing.
I missed
I
that.
also
hair
like
dryer.
how
I loved it.
that was a great example of them doing stuff that then gets like immediately shot down because he just had a flaming thing that didn't do anything because she just picked up a few things, clicked them together, and then
it was very Indiana Jones.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. The Indiana Jones, the shooting with the sword.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
it
were
was
a
a-
lot of it was pretty interesting.
Now, meanwhile, at the same time, poor Hair Star is having to deal with Humperdoos trying to...
Yeah.
That was cute too. I thought
What, cute is how you describe him sucking the
Humperdew
ring off of the
cute.
queen's finger?
I thought it was the scene, everything kind of, it was the music, the tap dancing.
listen, if you found your Messiah, you found your Messiah, and that's great for you.
Imagine being a struggling actor looking for roles, and you get hired to play the queen in a secret organization's
Finally,
rehearsal,
I get to be the queen.
and the guy's like,
actors.
I
Fucking on
wonder.
your
I kept
finger.
thinking about like what are the NDAs like for all those actors like
Oh my
lined up
God.
because there
I
had
just
to be
assumed
some
they would just kill them after,
I figured
like they
they
did
were-
with Fake God.
right, but it would have to say probably in the contract it was like we will kill you if you say anything about this, and I wondered how much money you would have to pay me in order to be like Yeah, okay, all right.
You
That's
can be a
okay.
struggling actor.
I think they're
at
just
that point-
Grail. I think they're Grail agents. That's my headcanon.
But
That
they
they
said
hire
actors
their
hold,
own
actors
Yeah,
hold.
they said actors hold.
Yeah, they have a.
They
They
could
have
have
to have an
actors on
actors wing,
retainer.
acting wing. You don't
They
think
could definitely have actors
propaganda,
on
making
retainer.
movies?
Because those could also be the spies. They're really good at acting. They're really good at
Exactly.
infiltrating stuff.
But if that's the case, then they could have got an in-house god too, and they put out a whole thing for him.
Yeah.
Contacted the
True.
agent.
Yeah.
So maybe afterwards they were
Well,
like,
the
we need to
in-house
do this
god
in-house.
was that the Grail or wasn't that the Angels?
That was the actual Angels, but we know that we've seen
yeah.
this kind of
Working with the
weird,
Grail because
yeah.
the
Yeah.
Grail cast him and then killed him, and then the Angels shot the video, used him to shoot the video
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
heaven. So weird. That's an even weirder job to NDA.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this whole scene and getting to see the Allfather for the first time
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing his abuse of power when he's talking about how he had his gastroenterologist beheaded because he busted
the
his staples.
Staples
and-
didn't fit.
So you kind of almost feel for Hare almost a little bit where you're like, dude, I get it. Like, this is not going well. And he's now saying he wants to expedite it
Yeah.
and now have the unveiling even earlier.
Well, it's why Hairstar makes a good villain, because a good villain, you need to understand why that villain considers himself a hero.
Yeah.
And you see that with Hairstar because he's like, this is the other option. We need to have a better savior because this is like the only thing we could choose from. So it's really strong in that sense. And also, I think we get the sense from all the hats that he's wearing, he definitely has that dickhead, and we just haven't seen it yet. But he definitely has a dickhead,
100%.
which I'm very
There
excited
will
for.
be, and that will be the unveiling I'm excited about.
There'll be a great
instead
unveiling of the
Humperdews.
dickhead. Yes.
And I agree with that, the whole thing about the layers of starting, like how it's not just outright I'm just evil villain, but like this is justification, because it gives it the gray area, which I think just gives the characters, more of a plot line, something deeper to go with when it comes to it, and it's just not outright like, well, this would be wrong. Like maybe Custer could be like understandably, appeal to that,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
He has more skills than just tap dancing.
Humperdews.
That's true. But he
I
also
did just
probably
love the actual joke where it's Jesus tap dancing Christ. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, guys. I see you. I see you, writers.
You see, it's there. Is that an actual saying?
Yes!
Jesus tap dancing Christ?
Yes! That's why
Okay.
it's funny. That's why it's a joke, is because that's an expression.
I don't think I've ever heard or said that in my life.
I
Really?
heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard Jesus
Nate's
take the
got it.
wheel,
I
but
guess
that's about
just
it.
blasphemous.
We're righteous.
Hanging out in the
people.
wrong circles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also just love this whole thing of simultaneously showing these stories of this is what Hairstar is going through. This is where Cass is. This is all simultaneously happening. And we see the punishment of Jesse being put in this coffin at the same time that now Tulip is having to deal with the fallout of their actions. And, she could have killed Madame Langelle in her sleep, and she stops herself to go and ask first, Jesse, why haven't you?
Right.
There's
a good thing she
got to be a
did.
reason. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
then, I mean, this whole thing was just rough. The back and forth of Jesse being stuck underneath the coffin like he
Right.
was as a kid, which we kind of assumed, we talked about last week, that we thought that was going to come into play.
Yeah, I was gonna come back.
But seeing all of the tulip that he had scratched from times before when he was young, and then his dream of the black and white Western.
We get the Duke. We get John
Yeah,
Wayne.
his imaginary friend.
I
did-
loved it.
Yeah.
From the very beginning of this, the creator said that they really couldn't do very much John Wayne because they don't have the rights to John Wayne, but they were able to have this workaround that I appreciated. And we were talking before the show about how, like, do we think the John Wayne's going to be coming back a lot? Because for people who don't know, in the comics, this isn't a spoiler. We'll save the spoilers for the end of the show. But this is something that, in the comics, John Wayne is a recurring character. That he kind of is his imaginary friend, his Jiminy Cricket, that he ends up talking to, is like this John Wayne whose face is blacked out and talks to him about just conscious stuff. So it was great to have that again, because I feel like it's means Jesse Custer is on the way to becoming the Jesse Custer we want him to be, which is the hero John Wayne would want.
Whereas right now, John Wayne's saying this is the weakest. This is your high noon version.
Right.
Step up, quit waiting for things to happen, and be the one to take charge.
Yeah.
And to make things happen.
My guess is it's not the last time we're going to see John Wayne, but they're not going to use him a lot. I feel like
that's
they're
how
going
I
to use him
feel. I think it's
sparingly.
going to be recurring, but not.
Yeah.
I think we might get a
inundated.
bookend of him, or like this is kind of a start of a change in Jesse, and then maybe when we see him finally like fully embrace it, we'll see him be like, good job, Pilgrim.
Yeah, like you don't need me anymore.
Right, but definitely I don't think he's gonna be recurring. But I do want to say I really liked how, again with this season, how they're kind of digging into their own kind of style, just like how we saw Tulip's dream, like in between life and death thing of it being like a play. Seeing his be this TV Western with the with the 4:3 boxing and the black and white and all that stuff. It was just really cool from a style point, how it accentuated the storytelling as well. I'm
Also,
just really enjoying it.
Also, both showing that Jesse and Tulip are both have grown up on TV in different ways. Where Tulip's was a sitcom, his was like old Western movies being shown on TV.
Yep.
In that 4x5.
And showing how they're linked too, simultaneously showing the Tulip beforehand, and then showing that they have the same, that they literally dream the same.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely re-emphasize that connection they have, especially with the John Wayne character, basically saying you need to go save her, because his whole idea was oh well, she can handle herself, but it's this idea of actually you need to actually step up and do it too,
Well,
which
put
gave
her
him
in
the
lost
gumption
territory
too.
with no
exactly
map.
Which I thought was good as well, because Tulip could have just been on her own, and I know we talked about the whole thing about her not wanting her to be the damsel in distress, but at the same time them working together.
That's what I
which
liked
they're
about the way that this
emphasizing.
was written too, is because he wasn't saying she's the damsel in distress who needs to be saved. He even says she's got as much sand as the Sahara.
Yeah.
She's got all this grit, but you've put her in a situation where she is lost. You have to guide her.
Yeah.
Because anyone in this situation would need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really, really liked that they emphasized that, and that it wasn't just go save the lost little girl. It was, Jesse, you've put her in this situation. You got to take responsibility for your actions.
Right. That's a good point. And I like how Jesse escapes from the coffin. I think that was kind of a cool trick.
I was trying to figure out, is that like scientifically sound? Like, did they think that through?
I feel
I didn't
like
get a chance to research. It was like, could you do that?
I feel like one thing that confused me about it was it wasn't pure oxygen, so I think they were just pumping in regular air. So I think when it get pumped out, I don't know how it would actually catch the gasoline section of the pump and then come back, unless it was pure oxygen they were using, because pure oxygen is flammable. He would light the thing and it would blow up. But like it wasn't pure oxygen.
Well, I think the plan was to get the cigarette to stay lit while getting sucked back through.
Yeah.
So the air, it's got air pumping through, right, to get to him. So that's one hole, and then there's another hole that's sucking air or carbon monoxide
Meanwhile,
out.
he's letting the water rise, and he put in holes so he could hide under the water and be safe.
So
when
a
it explodes,
smaller-
it won't burn him.
Yeah.
Also, it's going to create more pressure from having a
Right.
smaller container in between the water exchange.
So the air pressure is still pretty extreme.
Right. So trying to force the lit cigarette up the out tube, and so that somewhere in there it hits
That's
whatever
where they
was
showed
flammable.
that's why they
Yeah.
intentionally showed the big flammable sign on the side of that one part by the propane tank.
Right.
So that it would show that once that caught, it would catch the propane and then light the whole thing.
Yeah, it's how it hits that flammable section, I think, is a little science
Not totally
weird.
It just
Look,
looked awesome.
there was
But also,
fire.
maybe anyone, if you can try this at home, not.
Don't.
don't do
Whoa,
that.
whoa.
But if you're ever
Say
stuck
don't
in
do
a
that.
coffin, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe this could help this person.
That's good to know that there are options.
By the way, it's a good transition. If you're ever stuck in a coffin and you're looking for podcasts to listen to,
You have your
I was
Boy,
actually
do we
going to
have
say
something
my
for you.
transition was more going to be there are other options here at AfterBuzz as well. But thank you for swooping in for that one, Dave.
cool.
Because, hey, Hey AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there's no network that works harder to serve our television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
All right. So one person we haven't really talked about yet is Cassidy.
Yeah.
Who he's been off on his own right now, hooking up on the
And he been
vampire version of
swiping.
Grinder.
Yeah.
Biter.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but that's what I choose to call it.
I think it was
Bite It. Bite Me.
Bite Me?
Bite me. Oh, it should have been Biter. Come on, it's right there.
You know what?
a tee
Biter
up.
is so close and so obvious. I feel like there's probably an app called Biter that
Probably
they
is.
couldn't get the rights
Maybe.
to.
But poor Cass, we see.
I know. He thinks he finds another vampire that
Yeah.
he can maybe spend a life with. And I was convinced too, because I think it was a cool idea to have her not be gothed out when we meet her. That it just seems like, oh, she's a normal person who's also a vampire, like Cass, and she talks about how she's 200 years old, and you don't realize it's all like this act until she puts the teeth in.
Role playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cass just
first
said he
date.
was 89.
He said
He had been a vampire
he's been a
for
vampire
89
for 89
years.
years. So he's been,
So 100-ish years old.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was older than that. At least in the books, I feel like he's older than that.
Yeah, I know it
Not
came
that it
over
matters for the show.
on
I feel
Ellis
like
Island in the comics, but we can get to that I guess a little later.
Yeah.
But I think that
Yeah.
it's I don't know. Yeah, that's right. It might be
I don't
a
think it
little
really
bit of a time
matters for the
Yeah.
show, but I just was surprised by that.
But yeah, he's not doing well. He's buying horse tranquilizers, smelling
lonely.
a little rough, being
Elephant
kind of sad.
tranquilizer.
Yeah.
Elephant tranquilizer.
Yeah.
I do like though, like how we were talking about how his connections in particular are extra intense for him,
Yeah.
and that's brought out and kind of spelled out this episode where she says, you know, as a vampire, it is very lonely, but that's what makes it the moments of connections even more important.
Right.
Which we now, I mean, from our perspective, we know isn't those two, it's his connection with Tulip.
Yeah.
Right.
How that's going to keep him tied to her in some way, shape, or form.
It emphasizes that really well, and it also kind of teased out, I think, where we're going pretty well too, because you also see, well, after he gets like hoodwinked by the Grail, and is put in front of a camera.
This is what I loved about too, that when she's saying to Hare, and she's like, I have an idea, an interesting idea, and this kind of talking about the way that it's shot, they do the zoom in and it's the weight that you think is going to cut to the next scene.
like, "Come on."
And they're like, well,
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
it's about his friend,
That was
the
so
vampire.
good.
That was nice.
Genius.
That's so good.
Featherstone on
Genius.
Featherstone.
Featherstone was just absolutely perfect.
I love Featherstone.
Yeah, that's one of those moments for me where I can pick out where Seth's hands have been. That
Right.
one and
Because
the,
he knows sitcoms so well, and he knows all the tropes, and he knows how to play them.
Yep, that and the
Right.
poop jokes.
Yeah.
Yep. Which are also very fitting for Preacher itself.
They're pretty solid poop jokes.
But yeah.
I'm just really impressed though. They're doing a great job of doing the same way that the comics do of how the Grail is this big, scary secret organization that has all this power and it's threatening, but also it's kind of funny and ridiculous. And like they're doing that perfectly in the show. Just like with that beat was like a great comedic moment in the midst of them planning to do, some evil thing, it was very interesting. I think they're coming along really well, and the characters of Featherstone and Hoover are just perfect.
Yeah, they're
love them.
awesome.
Hoover singing and wow.
He was very excited to all father liked the performance too. He was just like, yes. Like,
Yeah, he was a little too into it.
I mean,
why
that's
it's
your
one of my
highlight of your
favorites.
life,
It's like,
given
yeah.
everything you do all the time. I mean, you get to play the piano for once,
He
Just
also
waiting
could
for the
be
Hoover
murdered at
episode.
any time.
A Hoover
Yeah.
episode, that'd be
Yeah.
into his psyche.
I'd be into it. But kind of the same way that they take somewhat serious things, but then show them in a comedic way, the way that they're filmed and the way that it's highlighted, is Tulip escaping too. The crossword that she has with Jody while he's talking, and she's trying to get the key and then being stopped and finally figuring out that she was able to get the pin from him and was able to escape that way.
That kind of happened off camera though.
Right? It did
out of nowhere. And for a second I was like, how did that, what?
Yeah, I kind of felt like it made me think I missed something.
Yeah.
There's a couple of moments that were like that. Actually, the fight with Grandma, with Tulip and Grandma, it also made me, I kept rewinding it to be like, did I miss like something getting hit? Like it kind of felt like we were cutting around it really easily. Granted, you're actually fighting with an elderly actress, so you kind of have to cut around that stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But also like the Tulip escaping Jody
It
just
didn't really
happens
bother
so...
me. I do feel like if they had shown just a quick cut of just the pin in his pocket and maybe it dropping or something, like just some sort of...
I just had a question about like, how did Jody get tied to the radiator?
Thank you. How does a pen help her overpower Jody, who
'Cause she
so
got-
far has been unbeatable by anybody, with the exception of like Saint? Like,
Unless he
That's
was
how
asleep.
she got the cuffs off, so then she got them on him.
Yeah,
Which
but
we've
like,
seen her do before.
So did he fall
Yeah,
asleep?
that's the thing. That's like, it would be nice to at least see him
if
fall
he was
asleep
sleeping, then
and
I
see like
guess.
see the pen in there and just see her seeing him sleep, seeing the pen, cut away.
See,
That's
for
all
me,
we needed.
time-wise, it didn't bother me.
It's just
Yeah.
a weird transition from him like being so perceptive while he's doing this crossword that he sees her dragging the key, but then he falls asleep.
Right.
And she takes his like it just seems weird next to each other. I agree with you. It did feel jarring.
But it did also reemphasize how awesome Tulip is.
Yeah.
And in terms of how she can pretty much get out of anything. You know, her bravado this whole episode was so... I mean, at times, you know, she's kind of putting it on because she is a little fearful, but I felt like maybe she was more fearful for Jesse than even herself at that time.
I feel like they both are for each other, which is
Yeah.
really being emphasized. And even seeing TC, who... his loving way of trying to help
Yeah,
Tulip
that
is
was
saying,
very-
let's dip her
that
feet
was-
in corrosive acid. I've got peelers.
not?
I've got pullers. Because
and also the play actor.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Well, he couldn't get it up. She was so sad.
Yeah, but
Is that what it was?
Yeah, she felt for not to get
I thought
too-
he was getting it up, and she was like,
I think
"Whoa,
she was
whoa,
just
whoa!
mad
It's a
because-
game.
No.
You're not supposed to be like into it."
Not because she's gotten so old and because they used to play this. I think they used to play this role playing game for a minute, and
I
she
don't
got
want-
so
alright.
old and
But isn't-
decrepit.
I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it. To be honest,
I also want to.
Because he's like something's wrong, and that's why she was like, oh my gosh, like nothing, because.
It's I think
wasn't
that
there.
I'm with you, Chauncey, and I think that the reason that we're
Okay.
talking about it, the reason that it's important. Shush, boys, you
No,
just tune out for a second.
I don't care. I need to ask a
But
question about this.
Because the thing is that at this point, it's pushed her. This is the impetus for her to say that this is why she needs to eat a soul, is because she's gotten too old. She
Yeah.
feels unattractive. This is a hit to her ego.
'Cause she
this
takes
was
off the
TC
wig,
trying
yeah.
to help.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, it's just made her feel worse about
Here's-
herself
Because
so
he couldn't,
she's going.
he wasn't turned on by her at this point,
Yeah.
like even nothing else.
I think that's true. Here's the thing: isn't TC her son? Isn't that the whole thing? Is that TC and well, God,
Jody?
what's his name? Jody, and also Jess's mom, all related? Like, isn't that the thing? And I think maybe what I was unsure about was like, did they change that? Did they keep it? And they're just that hillbilly?
Did they
Where they're
explicitly say that in the show?
I
this
don't
one
know.
they
But
I
haven't.
never
don't
heard
think
that.
that's
I never heard
I
that
think in
in the
this one
show.
that's not implied
they're
at all.
family, but I don't
They're
think.
family.
I think
it's
the
not-
implication
I think
is
it's
that
supposed to be that
she's.
they're not related because Jody was in love with Jesse's sister too, and they
think
Jesse's
that's a-
mother too. But I know that that's not like here, but they were playing that up here, saying.
Yeah, that's my
I
big-
think on the show
The way
is that they're not trying to make them related because
I think
that
they're
is
just really
too loyal for
loyal.
this audience.
I think the
Yeah.
only reason you think that though is because of this scene, and I'm saying they might still be related, and this scene might still be. A
I
thing.
think they're definitely all related. I don't think Jody and TC are like her direct kids. They might be like her kids' kids. I think the implication is that Grandma's older than like how we see her, because if she's been eating souls to stay young and this is how she looks,
Yeah.
how old must she really be? And her whole thing is about staying around and taking care of the family and stuff. So they could be a kid's son, a kid's brother here and there, but still be Langels. So, like, either way, it's gross.
Right.
But I don't think that they're, like, direct descendants.
I just wanted to ask the question because I'm pretty sure in the comics they're all, like, brothers
I
and
think
sisters.
they're pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, there's not this TC relationship
Right.
with the grandma. That's not there at all.
That's
TC's
not
only
there.
interested in barn animals in the comics.
And
anyways.
dead bodies.
Yeah, that's why I just needed to ask.
Moving on.
Yeah, well, he's way nice. Like, there's a certain moment where you're kind of like, oh, TC like actually wants to protect Tulip in a way. Like in the chat, they're kind of saying like because he's maybe in love with Tulip. I don't know if it's that deep, but I think there's a certain connection. Like he understands that Jesse loves Tulip. He even says it.
He's like, he says, you know, what about little Jessie?
Yeah, like he loves her. Like
he's not going to take this well if you eat her soul.
The chat is yelling at me right now, but just because I asked the question.
Yes, they are. They're yelling.
Which is fair, totally fair.
They're like they're not related. No.
Yeah. But
Wait, people really think they're not related?
Well,
well,
that
in the
they
chat,
changed
there
it for
seems
this
to be a
show. I feel like
consensus.
for this show that they intentionally are making it where that's not the case because everything that we've seen up until this point where they've been trying to hype up the potential of Jody and Christine and her just choosing not to. If it was, but we're related, that's why. I mean, I think that the whole thing that they've been leading up on the show is that they're not, and that
I disagree.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should maybe also move on because like I think they don't really answer that question. I don't think they
it's supposed to be kind of up in the air.
I think
but
they're supposed to be considered family, but we don't know how they're
I
family.
like that you bring this up and you're like, let's move on. Next
No. That's only because it's like we could talk about this the entire rest of the show.
We don't want to.
And also, someone brought up an interesting point from Leah Lima that she had a great Dima voice.
Yeah, it went back and forth. That's what it kind of creeped me out because
Yeah.
it got real deep a couple of times, and I was like, "Whoa, where she's actually like?" Because she's been creepy and intense up to this point, but I think in that moment when like she was like going at TC, I think it got a bit scary. Like she got like there was something otherworldly about her finally that I got.
Yeah, you kind of saw the witchiness in her and how she's like she lives off these souls by just her voice dropping like that.
Now, Tulip, unfortunately, I love, too, the way that this is shot, the intercut between Jesse and Tulip, which is neat, too, because most of the time, whenever we come back from a commercial break, it goes from A storyline to B storyline. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we've seen all season that it's come back from Jesse to Jesse, of him in the coffin, but then it intercutting with Tulip and her fighting with Grandma while he's trying to get back, and then are they going to make it? Tulip falls down dead after she chokes out Grandma, which I didn't have a problem with that scene. I thought it looked cool.
Yeah. It just made me. It's because I was streaming the thing, so I was like, did it skip over something? Like that's the only reason. And I do love the line like, can she handle this? She's not Uma Thurman.
Yeah,
right.
And that was pretty
pop
cool.
Culture references.
Also, especially since I realized like, oh, and Jesse just Kill Bill 2 his way out of that like coffin.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Uma Thurman nods.
Yeah.
Also, foot shots.
Also, Madam Boyd totally lied, or in terms of.
Well, she's now on their.
She totally
shit
lied.
list. It's not necessarily that she lied. It was that
what did she lie about?
manipulated. She didn't lie. The
What did
spell
she
is
lie about?
broken.
Well, no, because
She just didn't say Tulip. You will
Tulip straight
also
up said
die.
she was like, "There's a loophole in here somewhere."
There's catch.
And she was like, "Oh no!" But I guess she did say, "Well, Jesse will be fine." She did emphasize Jesse.
Yeah, and I think I don't know.
Come on.
I also feel like I don't quite trust Madam Boyd.
I don't either.
I don't
totally
either,
didn't either.
but I don't think she lied. I mean, maybe she misled her, but I don't think she said like, "Yeah, kill her, you'll be fine." I don't think she's.
Yeah, but she was.
She
could have at least. It's a lie by omission at least.
Lie. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
lie of
manipulation.
omission, maybe.
Yeah.
maybe.
that she might die.
Sure.
That's pretty big.
Sure.
Regardless, she knew, and she was the one who
Yeah.
put the idea in Tulip's head, which Jesse knows. And now that the main thing is that Jesse feels that.
I don't think she put the idea in Tulip's head.
Well,
I
Jesse
feel like
thinks
Tulip's
it,
been...
and that's all that matters.
Okay.
Oh no! She basically did tell Tulip
Yeah.
like, "This is your way out."
Because Tulip
But then
wasn't going to do it. Because
she-
Tulip was like, "I've been messing up. I
But
don't
she had
think I
been
should
thinking
do this."
about it.
Yeah, but then
Right.
Bad Boy basically said, this
She
is
said
how
there
you
is.
can do it.
I think it was like there is no other way. You just need to kill her instead of her being like, well, I want to kill her, but this is just the O'Hare way of messing things up. So I need to try to find another way. Maybe there's another way. No, turns out I just need to do what I know how to do. And
But
just be
Boyd
violent.
did say, she did tell her, you're the only one who can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling the person who you know is probably going to die that you're the only one that can kill.
Well, because if somebody else does it, then they've killed these two people.
Well, but she
if
really
does
is the
it,
only one who can do it. Who else is in the house and has access to Grandma? She really is.
By the
Like,
time Cassidy
I do
all I'm
love,
saying
though,
is,
oh.
I respect Man and Boyd's motive. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man.
For killing.
Whose side are
Voodoo
you on?
family warfare. Look, I'm not on the Langell side. I'll tell you that right now.
Good point.
We haven't
That's
seen what
legit.
the Boyd tomb looks like. We've just seen them fixing attics. So I'm, as far as it goes, I'm on the
so
Boyd
far,
side.
yeah, I am more sympathetic to the Boyds. But
I'm
I
on
do love,
Tulip's
too,
side. I
talking
wanna
about
die.
Tulip, that she says, and her messing up all the free will in the world, and I still find a way to screw it up, just as God said I would. And God even says when she's dead, he's like, dead again? It's pass fail, Tulip, and you're failing.
What a a-hole.
Yeah,
this is
I think
my
she's beating
one-
herself up too much because that wasn't really her fault.
This is my one kind of like criticism, I think, is I'm not quite liking what they're doing with God talking to Tulip like this, because I think it's a little confusing. Like, I'm not sure, when you do it once, it's kind of mysterious, and then if you keep going to it every single episode, I start to be like, what is happening? Not like, what is his plan? But I'm like, I feel like I should know what his plan is, and it just feels confusing, and I'm not really interested in it. I wish it would explain what's going on with God, who keeps showing up.
The first time we saw him with Tulip coming back, it made sense, and it gave us a little bit of a mystery of like, well, what did he say? And then we got that, and then
Even the car, even it passing,
What was
the
that?
car, I didn't mind that because that's a nice little. She's doubting herself. Let's show that. Let's have a physical form of
I
her
liked
doubting
that.
herself. When she dies here, it's just kind of like it's just unneeded. I just don't know why it's there.
yeah.
I like it because I think that it's him again pushing because he has a plan and she's a part of it. So it's like, step up your game. You gotta figure this out.
That makes
because
sense.
she's focusing on Madame Langell still, and his push is the Grail, as he wants everyone to leave him alone.
Yeah.
So, but we also get to see what is gonna lead into next week. The name of next week, L'Enfance du Sang.
Oui, oui.
I'm glad we just all went into that.
With respect.
So Cass is kidnapped by the Grail, but instead of getting this video to Jesse, they all get KO'd, and his vampire love returns to bring him to this vampire village, basically.
So, do we think next episode is going to be Grail versus these like?
Well, you
goth
know what? How about we just dive into some predictions?
Ooh.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So what do you think? Do you think it's gonna be Grail versus vampire?
I think
Holy water
Hairstar
versus blood?
Yeah,
Which is thicker?
Hairstar has like some grudges. He likes to hold some grudges. So I feel like if anyone knocks him out, he's going to make sure to attack back. So I feel like that is going to happen. And I did see actually the next week on. And one thing I'm excited is like getting into these vampires, exploring that. I like how they're still like kind of gothy vampires. I kind of want one or two of them to be Twilight fans, and we haven't quite gotten that. But I'm curious to see where we go with that.
Yeah, no, I think maybe this might be a little bit of a side plot for a little bit, like with Cass, kind of maybe because he seemed very sad in this episode about being a vampire. So maybe this, like, there seems to be like with next week, like there seems to be a conversation about vampirism and the benefits of it and whatnot. So I think we'll dive into that a bit more, and then also there's the whole soul thing with Tulip and whether or not Jumon's gonna get. I thought when they brought up Boyd that they were actually gonna, maybe the solution would be to go get her soul, but
so we just see them all attacking each
yeah,
other.
exactly.
Yeah, like whose
Just like
soul are
someone's
they
soul
gonna
is
get?
gonna-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think we see in next week's episode, on the next week on, we see some Arseface.
I'm very excited to
Killer
see Eugene.
Saints.
Yeah.
The routine, because I've been wondering, when are we gonna see Eugene?
Yeah. And the Saint of Killers. who's gonna be coming by, and I think hunting Eugene, which we kind of all
I was just
assume.
thinking about that because you said that they left and he's supposed to bring 2 back, but wasn't Eugene like dismissed because he wasn't supposed to be there?
No, he wasn't. He escaped. He Shawshanked his way out with.
It was at the very last minute that the guard of the boat was saying, "Oh, you're not supposed to be here. That's fine." But then that guard got shot down.
Oh, right.
So yeah.
Right.
So I think Eugene's still on the list.
Hell still wants him. Hell still wants him.
I think they're gonna take down Hitler and Eugene's gonna get away, and that's gonna be how they get rid of Hitler this season.
I am real curious to
this
see how
point-
they're gonna deal with Hitler, because making the fact that having Hitler in last season where he's like the Morgan Freeman of the Shawshank thing, and like helping him out, it was weird, but it was also funny. And now it's like, but it's getting to the point where it's like, he's still Hitler, guys.
Yeah, so we need to not make him so sympathetic. Let's
Especially in these times.
Yeah, especially like with how the news keeps getting worse, and hey, Nazis are still a thing. Let's maybe do something with Hitler to make him worse, or take him back, or let's take him back to hell. We don't need Hitler.
Yeah, funny Hitler in hell is one thing. Funny Hitler roaming the earth again.
Freed,
is
Yeah, exactly.
a different thing.
It's not good. That's not
Yeah, I think we all agree.
I think
Hitler back to hell.
the entire panel officially agrees.
Hitler should go to hell.
Hitler should go to hell.
No.
Thank you.
No, we know that we have a lot of fans of the comics who watch this show, and there are some people who may have not been able to have the chance to read the graphic novels. We don't want to spoil anything for them, so we're going to go ahead and sign off and say our goodbyes. But if you are a fan of the comics and you want to hear us talk about it, we're going to stick around and talk about it for a couple minutes too. So let's put ourselves over.
Yes, you can find me at mrdavechild on the Twitter and davechild.com. And if you go on Hulu or something and check out the Gong Show last week, I'm dancing in short shorts to the theme from Golden Girls. So check that out if you want to see that.
And you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
Guys, you can find me everywhere that people can be found at Dog Like Nate, and please make sure that you watch Dave on the Gong Show.
Now I'm Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. And you can find us all here at AfterBuzz TV. Definitely want to see you guys back here next week. We're going to say goodbye to those of you who want to say goodbye here. This is your official spoiler alert.
Get out of here.
Spoiler alert.
You have been significantly warned. Sufficiently warned.
So this is, I feel like, I don't know, I don't have too many spoilers this episode, except I'm excited about the vampires that we're about to deal with. I'm curious if they're gonna, how close it's going to be to the club that we've met in the comics. Hope it's pretty close, but I'm excited for that. Besides that,
There wasn't really that much this particular episode, but I feel like leading into the next one, it is going to be interesting to see how they do the take on the vampires now, having had so much vampire pop culture since the release of the comics.
We did have the one thing, though, is when I said that God showing up when she died, the one thing I thought of is it seemed like just like the comics, because God actually brought her back from the dead. So I actually thought they were going to have God bring her back from the dead this time, and have that be a total nod to the comics, and have that be
That's
something.
Exactly what I thought too. And I was like, oh, this is going to be how they rectify it. Is like, this is God bringing her back. But he was just like, no, I'm going to be a snarky a-hole until they Quentin Tarantino grandma.
Right.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that God this time.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting because I also want Hitler to go back to hell, but I also know Satan's probably going to get shot in the face. So is hell going to be like, what's this going to be the state of hell after you take out Satan? I'm curious about that, where they're going to go with that. Now that like hell is an actual thing, while in the comics it's just kind of vaguely mentioned every now and then.
Right. We don't have to see any of the people that are serving time down there.
Also, it seems like Allfather, we're still not 100% sure, but we believe that it was Allfather the devil was talking to.
Yes.
Because it seems like he has a lot of information that probably came from the devil. While in the comics, all of the Grail's like secret info actually comes from an angel they're torturing all the info out. But I don't think they're going to do that this season.
I don't think they are either. I think it's going to be the same, where it's basically like now Hell and the angels that are left are kind of teaming up to be like, what can we do? All Father is saying this is going to be, you know, like the ones that are with All Father are saying, okay, we have somebody at least. If God's gone, Satan can maybe help us out. He's going to expand, but we'll have something here. Yeah.
I just realized that me talking about Airstar's dickhead, was that a spoiler earlier?
Someone did yell spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know, because we've talked about it before. We saw him get shot. We saw the line. We've already seen it, been established. So
okay, cool.
We have talked about it before, so that's not a real spoiler.
How could you, Dave?
I'm so sorry. I'm so for all of
Who's
you
the true
purists
here?
who wanted to see the dickhead. That's perfect. That's the best.
Damn.
There's the joke. You found it. Okay.
Got him.
Yeah.
All
But I
right,
think that's it for spoilers.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah.
I think it's. I want this momentum to keep going,
Yep.
and I'm glad that like the side story we're gonna have fun with is one I know is gonna be good because it's from the comics, so it doesn't feel like it's gonna be more of a tangent like last season. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see when they bring in Cass going too far, though.
Yeah, and
That's the
also
only thing
I
is
want
I
to see
feel
some Cass backstory. I want to see
Yeah.
him arriving to America and all that
I
stuff.
feel like now at this point, I thought they were going to incorporate it earlier. I think they're going to save it for the end of the season. I think
think
that's
it's
going to
coming
be,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I'm Dave.
And I'm Chauncey.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Elena, and we'll all be back here next week. We hope you guys are too. See ya.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.